Do you consider yourself a performer or do you consider yourself a leader? Or if you currently work with a boss or a mentor or coach, do you see that person as a hard worker or do you see them as a leader? Hello leaders, my name is Jason Graziani and welcome to our channel, Leader for Life. We're embarking on an entire principle series on what does it take to be a leader. I remember when I was coming up as a hard worker and a performer and I would get recognition and some people would say, like my bosses, and they would say, hey, you're doing a great job, you're working really hard, we're gonna make you a manager. Have you ever been in a place of employment where somebody that was performing at a high level was made the supervisor or the manager of other men and women? They think that they're a leader. You know what I found out? I wasn't. I realized that I wasn't a very good leader. I needed to work on things. I realized that I knew how to get things done myself, but I wasn't very good at managing and driving performance through other people. And so over the last 15 years, I've worked very hard on a specific set of principles, and I've come up with 10. And over the next video series, we're going to be releasing videos on each of these 10 principles if you're trying to improve your leadership game, not just your performance game. Let's go to number one. Number one is the love. Now, in red behind me is the one word for that principle that really encompasses what does it mean. But if I was to extend that definition a little bit more, I would say serving people, treating them right. There's many definitions of what a leader is. For mine, it's serving people and treating them right. For example, my wife and I have our 4 pillars of our relationship, our foundation, which are listed here: love, trust, respect, and loyalty. I would put that all in the same category of serving people, treating them right. Principle number 2, your character. It's often said in one of my favorite quotations is this about character: you know what type of character you have by the way that you treat people who could do nothing for you. And that's one of the main definitions, and the way that you have to really lead. You have to make sound decisions, and these have to be rooted in conviction, in a certain set of principles, winning principles that you believe that guides your decision making, because when you're the leader, you have to make those final decisions. Principle number 3, your attitude. Having a positive mental attitude. I used to think that I had a good attitude. I had a terrible attitude, and I'm always working on that. And that's one of the toughest things to do, because oftentimes people say, hey, you need to have a better attitude. And then a lot of people's responses is, I don't have a bad attitude. And it's not that you didn't have a bad attitude, because you don't. It's just that you don't have a good one. You're kind of in the middle. And in the middle isn't good enough to be the leader. If you're a leader, attitude, John Maxwell says, is a decision. You have to decide to have a positive mental attitude. Principle number 4, vision. Providing direction and giving feedback. It's not enough just to cast the vision, although that's very important. Your people need to know, why are we doing what we're doing and where are we going if we do it? Once you cast the vision, then you need to give each person direction as to what their role is. We call those expectations sometimes, but I like the word direction. People need direction. And then after you give them direction, you have to give them feedback along the way. Just like your GPS on a phone, it'll say turn right, it's giving you direction. And if you go the wrong way, it'll do a whole thing that it does on the phone, I don't even know what you call it, and then it'll turn you back around and it'll have you go a different direction, because it's giving you feedback saying, hey, where you asked us to go, you're not going. You need to turn around and go a different direction. Number 5, wisdom. I've often put intelligence in this aspect, having intelligence there, but I really want to take it to the next level with wisdom. Having awareness and proceeding accordingly. And I'm going to give you something here. Intelligence mixed with a willingness to ask questions intimidates those in power. Have it anyway. Now, you have to, when I say proceed accordingly, that means you have to understand this isn't going to be well received. If you combine having intelligence, okay, and you combine that with a willingness to ask questions, authoritative figures don't like that. They don't like it because it changes the way other people view oftentimes what the person in power is trying to push. So where wisdom comes in is picking and choosing when you do that. Now, I always encourage people to speak their mind. I'm a believer in freedom of speech. And I'm a believer that even authoritative figures need to hear things that they may not like by people that they may not want to hear them say it. And I just want you to know there's times where I've influenced change in a really good way, and I've seen people influence change this way. And then I've often seen times where I've gotten attacked, or people talk a lot of smack, or they say a lot of negative things about you because they say, why do you ask that? Why do you say that? Well, it's because I've combined a level of intelligence and a willingness to ask a question that maybe you didn't want to answer. And so you may not like the way that it feels, but if I believe in what I'm saying, or you as the leader believe in what it is that you're asking, but you come from a good place and you choose wisdom when you ask those questions, I believe that you should do that each and every time. Principle number 6, strength. Demonstrating resolve in uncertain times. See, it's easy to be a leader when everybody feels good. When things are going great, everybody looks good. But when things get a little shaky, or when our country's in a pandemic, or when country's at war, or when the economic times are shaky, or in your family unit, maybe the marriage is a little rocky. Maybe the relationship with the kids is a little rocky. Maybe your company's going through a really tough quarter, a really tough year. During those uncertain times, it's important to show strength, not perfection, strength. And this strength is demonstrating resolve that, hey, I understand and I'm aware that there's some shaky times around us. Things aren't perfect and I'm not perfect, but I'm strong enough to maintain the course. I'm going to stay the course, and that's where we're going to be. And that calmness during those uncertain times and that peace through strength that Ronald Reagan often references back when he was the president, and God bless Ronald Reagan, I want you to know this is very important to maintain and demonstrate that strength. Principle number 7. Although it says fight for, and that may not be proper English, that's where I'm going, okay? Fight for what? What do I need to fight for? Stand up for what is right. Now, especially when it's inconvenient. It's always the right time to stand up and to speak up for what is right, especially when it's not convenient. That's also an easy thing to do, is to speak when it's popular. It's easy to stand up for what is right when it's popular. But when your opinion is in the minority opinion, meaning the majority of people out there believe something different than what it is that you're saying, it's very difficult to stand up for what you believe is right. Ultimately, you're going to have to make that decision. You're going to have to make that decision with your mind. You're going to have to make that decision with your heart and your experience level. And if you believe that something's right, you have to stand up for it, especially when it's inconvenient, especially when you're getting attacked, especially because if you don't stand up for what's right during the times when it's inconvenient, you'll never be respected as a leader, and all of these principles don't mean anything if you don't do that. Number 8, endurance. Committing to endure until the end, and specifically never giving up on your people. Is it okay to be annoyed with your people? Yes, it's okay. You're human. Is it okay to be frustrated with your people? Yes. Is it okay sometimes to, maybe you shouldn't be angry, okay, but you can be upset, you could be frustrated. Those are all normal things, but you can never, under any circumstances, quit on your people. If they're your people till the end. Now, if they quit on themselves, that's their decision. That's their decision. I've been very difficult over the years on different individuals that I've worked with, whether it's in business or my family. And I understand that sometimes I could be a difficult person. Maybe you fall in that category as well. But here's the important part. I've never quit on my family members, and I would never quit on my business associates. That's very important. And no matter what organization that you're running, your people have to know that even during tough times, you are not going to quit on them. They could quit on themselves, but you cannot quit on them. Number 9, conflict. Processing issues with an open heart and an open mind. My mentor, Patrick Bet-David, taught me how to process issues a lot better than I ever had processed them before. I thought I was pretty good at processing issues, but I was okay at making some decisions, but actually processing really tough issues. Albert Einstein says that a problem cannot be solved in the same mentality in which it was created. And so if you're currently experiencing an issue or a problem, it was created in the current mindset that you are in right now. So sometimes navigating and processing and getting through that issue is a very difficult thing. And there's a combination of your mind, which is the logical side, and your heart, which is the emotional side. Sometimes our emotions, and I know I'm one of those people too, get the best of us. and the emotions take over the logic and dominate what could be a better decision because we're really emotional about it. And I really understand what that's like. And so conflict management, it's very important to understand how to process issues with an open heart and with an open mind. And finally, number 10, humility. That's one of the most difficult ones to talk about. Humility. Embrace vulnerability. I want you to imagine vulnerability like a thing, okay? And when I say embrace it, put your arm around it and hug it, okay? Meaning, when you see vulnerability, especially us guys, I could speak for some of the guys that are out there, we don't want to show vulnerability. We think that makes us look weak. We think that makes us look like a baby. Maybe we have a pride aspect to it. But I want you to know something. Every time that I've embraced vulnerability versus running from it, I always feel better. I always feel so much better about it. Talking about your mistakes, messing up, being totally fine if you mess up. It's okay to feel wrong and be a dummy sometimes. Sometimes you just flat out feel like a dummy. Hey, you know what? That was kind of a dumb thing to do. I shouldn't have done that. But guess what? You're not dumb. It was just your decision, or it was just the feeling at that time. That's okay. I could isolate my behavior separate than me. Your behavior isn't exactly you. Now, sometimes it defines us, but it isn't you. So it's okay to make a bad decision or to mess up, and that decision wasn't the right one, but you're still a good person and you're still a leader. Hey, leaders, I hope this content helps you out. We're going to dive deeper into all 10 of these in subsequent videos. I encourage you to stay tuned and watch when we come out for those. And if this material helps you out, I would love for you to subscribe to our channel, Leader for Life. I'd love for you to like, share, and also leave us a comment. Let us know in any of these areas if you believe that there's a principle you'd like us to cover or an area that you're struggling with. We'd love to put our leadership team together, make some content for you, and provide that value. I hope you choose to be a leader for life. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye.